What's cracklin', everybody? Welcome back once again to the definitive cereal tier list. For each episode, we take a cereal, put it on the tier list, so you know how good it is. I'm your host, Tucker. In this episode, it's time for the final Great Grains, which is Great Grains, Raisins, Dates, and Pecans. Now, previously, we've done the other 5 Great Grains, and those have been the C-ranked Blueberry Morning and Banana Nut Crunch, and the D-ranked Crunchy Pecan, Raisin Cluster Crunch, and Cranberry Almond Crunch. Now, this one is another one with raisins, so a little hesitant going in. Even more so because I took a look at the ingredient list there, did not see cinnamon, which was kind of the saving grace for the Raisin Cluster Crunch. So we'll see if having dates in there as well as 2 nuts can help it, but I don't expect this to beat Blueberry Morning or Banana Nut Crunch. But let's just open it up, find out for certain. Easy box. Oh, spoke too soon. Okay. Not as strong as the banana one was, but you're getting sort of a date and raisin mixed in with the grain. Good cluster here. So we got big old dates. Interesting. And on this one, we are back to the tiny flakes. That's the word. Tiny flakes, but big clusters in this one. We'll see how that works out. And before I forget, like last time, we'll take a look at what's actually in here. We've got pecans. Check. We got flakes and clusters. Yep. Raisins and dates. Seen both of those. So this one is, for certain then, the most different ingredients, because I thought banana and cluster, 2 separate things. But this one distinctly does 5 things. So we'll see if that works out well. Very intrigued by these giant clusters, though. And I feel like the pecans are much bigger. That one for certain. All the other ones, too, than Crunch Pecan had. Okay, so got a raisin there, got a cluster. Let's get a pecan. I think I have most of the things in here. Okay. So I didn't really have the raisin till the end, and that kind of then overtook most of the other stuff. But I feel like the nut element is much more present here than it's been in some of the others. Maybe the cluster is helping with that, even though there's not a nut there, but I don't know, it just sort of brings that same energy. So it's not bad, but I think I liked the cinnamon aspect that Raisin Cluster Crunch had more than the lack of it in this one. But we'll see how I feel as I continue in. I think the raisins blend in better with this having all those different elements than when it was just the cinnamon flavoring for Raisin Cluster Crunch. But I do prefer still the cinnamon taste that had more than the sort of combo taste you're getting here. But I do appreciate that it makes it all a little manageable, I guess, despite having so many things going on. The dates, though, I like the taste more than the raisin, but again, you're getting a sort of chewiness with it. So theirs is, it's like a thicker, chewy. It's like one of those, like more dense gummy sort of, like that sort of chewy. Which still not a super fan of, but I think because you have both those nuts in there, it kind of masks it a little bit more. So this still has like a lot of the issues that I had with Raisin Cluster Crunch, but I think with all the stuff going on, mask seems to be the right word. That it sort of just masks it a little bit, so it's not as bad as it could be. I think a couple times now I've mentioned there being multiple nuts. It's just the pecans in there. Pecans in big clusters. I think the giant clusters are what I'm thinking of. But for some reason, I keep saying there's another nut in here. To be clear, it is just pecan. That's all it is. My brain's just being weird right now. All right, now let's see what sort of flavor combination we're going to get with the milk here. Nothing too distinct. Like, there's a bit of grain, bit of raisin date going on. And neither the raisin nor the date is too strong. And the grain, I can tell if it's grain flavor or because it's these smaller pieces, you're getting little bits of grain sort of floating around in there. So I can't tell if that's affecting it more than actually changing the milk's flavor on its own. But yeah, it's alright. It's sort of sweet. Nothing too special. Just sort of milk right now. As expected, this was not my favorite Great Grain, but I think it does manage to slightly edge out Raisin Bran. Throughout most of that bowl, the raisin taste was not very present, but that last bite there did have a lot stronger raisin taste, so that was a good reminder of still not really into that. But I think that does prove my point though, in that having all these other aspects, the pecan, the big clusters, the dates, I think the raisin is just a small part of it versus Raisin Bran where raisin is the sort of main thing. It's a little hard to get away from. In this, it gets mixed in and it's not as sharp a taste comparatively. So what I'm going to do is give Great Grains, Raisins, Dates, and Pecans a D. I think it's probably one of the lowest Great Grains for me, but I think maybe it's because there aren't very many raisins in there. I'd still put it a whole rank above Raisin Bran. It's a low D for sure. Like the Raisin Cluster Crunch and the Cranberry Almond Crunch were both like bottom half sort of the D's. And I think this still goes below there, but it doesn't seem quite meh or bad enough for me to end up fully in an E, so it gets the D. But I'm going to say this, repeating it over and over and over. If there had been more raisins in here, I think it could have easily been an E instead. And now that I've tried all 6 Great Grains, I can officially say Blueberry Morning is the greatest grain. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and in the comments below, post your general thoughts. Let me know if you've had Great Grains, Raisin, Dates, and Pecans. If you were a fan of it, let me know and probably be upset with me for putting it so low. But if not, and you agree with me, you can share that too and sort of reaffirm my opinion here. And if unlike me, you thought there were too many elements to this Great Grains and you would rather just have 1 or 2 flavors instead of sort of evening it out with the mix, you can let me know your opinion about that too. But until next time, stay delicious.